Hello everyone, and welcome once again to the Heir's Lair. I'm your host, Jonathan Taylor. On October 29th, 1923, the Republic of Turkey, or Türkiye as it has since rebranded itself, has officially been proclaimed. I realize I am a little bit late for the centennial, and also this video comes out a little too, a little too late to also fall on the anniversary in general. But still, this does present me with a very good occasion to talk about one of the most well-known English language book on the topic of the proclamation of the Republic of Turkey, Atatürk, The Rebirth of a Nation, by Patrick Kinross. I now realize that that title has some unfortunate implications for any US audiences, but unfortunately that's the title the author is going with, so that's the title I'll be using. The more eagle-eyed among you might have noticed that what's written on this cover doesn't exactly match what it is that I've said. And that's because I'm not talking about because I haven't read the English language original. Rather, I have read and will therefore base a lot of my opinions on this book on the Romanian version of this, of this particular biography. Translated by Veronica Tomescu, edited by Dragoș Mateescu, and published by Omnium, a publishing house I personally admit not having any familiarity with, but I assume they deal with biographies and other such historical texts. I did say I intended to read a little bit more nonfiction this year, so it's perhaps not surprising that I venture into unfamiliar waters. Anyway, my reading habits aside, what can I say about this book? Well, my impressions are in summary are there is a good book in here somewhere. Unfortunately, it is buried under lots and lots of extraneous details that that really hinder the potential through lines that this this particular historical account, biography, what have you, could present. There are still plenty of intriguing and eye-catching moments presented all throughout. But unfortunately, they are still readers have to dig through them by delving into a lot of excessive and overly flowery descriptions. Still, I can't deny that I've had my understanding of the the events the book describes expanded by its presentation, and so I can safely say that if you are at all interested in the in the events that went into the formation and establishment of the current Turkish Republic, and have no issue with purple prose, then I think this book might be worth recommending to you. And now that I'm done with my general impressions, it's time I delved into some specifics. This biography, like a biography is supposed to do, covers the life of its titular figure, Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, and it does so by by dividing his life into three parts, and then going into each of these parts of his life, and exploring what it is about each of them that makes the figure and his activity distinctive. The first part covers his early life up until the end of the First World War, as he first gets to establish his renown, his capabilities, and his political insights. The second part covers the actual independence campaign that he was arguably the central figure of. And the third part covers his time as the first president of the Republic of Turkey, and all of the efforts he went through in order to legitimize this this new state. Of the three, I think it is fair to say that the second part is in fact the best. It is the longest of all of these parts by a significant margin, I could add, but also covers the shortest interval of time, and therefore it is able to go chronologically in detail, and into everything that went into this, and it went into this particular segment of the of the history of the Anatolian Peninsula. And by that I don't just mean the actual independence war that the titular figure Atatürk was able to wage, or was able to lead throughout a broader campaign for territorial control. But I'm also talking about the his more his political endeavors, how he first gained public support, how he and the people around him went through the actual effort of nation building, and how they were able to use diplomacy to gain both public and logistical support for the establishment of this new nation, all the while Atatürk fought in the field and made sure that this new republic actually had the territorial control that it needed in order to fully cement and legitimize itself. This is very much the best part of the book, and I think it could very effectively also function as a standalone piece of historiography. Unfortunately, I can't really be as positive about the first and the third part of this book, which cover longer periods of time with less detail, which that's fine in and of itself. I don't perhaps expect those sections of the biography to go into as many descriptions, but I do find that there is a little bit too much editorializing and really burying the lead when it comes to how the titular figure Mustafa Kemal Atatürk is actually presented over the course of those parts. I think it's fair to say that the intention was to humanize him, make him come across as more sympathetic, more relatable. However, I think it is fair to say that John Patrick Douglas Balfour, the third Baron of Kinross, has some different ideas about what exactly makes someone sympathetic and relatable compared to the average reader. In the first part, for example, because he has different ideas, the actual result doesn't really come across as effectively as it could. In the first part, for example, covering Mustafa's early life, a lot is spoken about his capabilities, about his discipline, and about the ways in which, and about his insights, and yet the book also constantly talks about how he is passed over or completely ignored when it comes to things like recommendations or promotions. He still gets promoted, he still gets some level of acclaim, but the book is editorialized in such a way as to make it seem like he is still being held back, like he is doing everything he needs to advance, but he is not permitted or really acknowledged to advance to the point where he rightfully ought to be. And unfortunately, because of the editorializing, I do not have enough information to assess whether that is in fact the case, whether Mustafa really was discriminated in that in that particular sense. But still, that is a somewhat more minor gripe compared to what's going on in the third part of this book during Atatürk's presidency, where he suddenly becomes the smartest, the wisest, most cunning man in the room wherever he is. Wherever he finds himself, he is perfectly capable of reading every other person in the room, every person that he talks to, effectively enough in order to know just how to set them straight and have them do whatever it is that he wants them to do every time. And the book really consists of a lot of moments like that, where Mustafa has a disagreement with someone else, and then is able to persuade that person with with a few well-placed lines to do as they are supposed to do. And unfortunately, it really makes him come across as this really meant to make him seem like this Solomon-esque figure who is always wise and always knows best. Unfortunately, it doesn't really make him come across as that, and it doesn't really help him come across as particularly interesting or I don't know. I find myself becoming disconnected with him given this particular presentation of him, which which really blurs what his actual character, what his actual what his actual interest, what his actual MO is is supposed to be, and ultimately makes him come across as estranged rather than more relatable. But still, he gets off easy compared to a lot of the figures around him, and I'm talking about like acolytes, friends, supporters, or in general, allies who follow the same goal, and follow the same goal over throughout most of his life as well, and who pretty much all come across as either stooges or as extensions of his own personal will. And these are not just nobodies. These are people who hold office, who have held office within the Turkish government, both within Atatürk's time and even beyond that. These are people who have schools and squares and streets named after them. Like they have their own creativity, their own insight, their own inner world, and their own creativity and contributions. But those simply do not show up on the pages of this book. And I really think that as a historical account of the establishment of the modern Turkish Republic, a little bit more insight into what their contributions were and how they arrived, how they implemented those contributions would have been very welcome. But unfortunately, that is perhaps too much of a woke Marxist opinion for me to expect a Scottish lord writing in the 60s to actually adopt. So yeah, unfortunately that is off the table. But what isn't off the table are the several paragraphs where the author describes Atatürk's eyes, how bright and how brilliant and how gleaming with insight they are. That's perfect. Yeah, that's perfectly fine, and that's exactly what the audience what the readership needs to find out about. Yeah, definitely. It is very tempting to throw some of the blame for the presentation on the translator, but to be frank, I don't really think that is the case. Like for the most part, I think Veronica does a great job when it comes to when it comes to presenting this this text into the Romanian language. The one mistake I have noticed that she kind of consistently does is calling the League of Nations the Society of Nations, even though Romanian historiography also calls it the League of Nations, so I'm not exactly sure what's up with that. But for the most part, I can safely say that I haven't found any any particular issues with the translation. I haven't found any segments where where as I read through, I thought that there could be a better way to say this. Some note also has to be given to Dragos, the editor, for how he is able to present this text. He occasionally falls into the same maximalist trap that the original author falls into when it comes to describing the titular figure, such as, for example, when a particular British officer or diplomat is mentioned. Even if it's a one and done, Dragos will occasionally introduce some lengthy footnotes about their career and the accolades they received, even though they have no connection whatsoever to the to the rest of the text or the rest of the historical event that this book is supposed to describe. But still, that is a somewhat minor issue, and aside from that, he does a great job at at presenting the context of everything that readers encounter, as well as making sure that the that the various notes, both of the original author, of the translator, and and his own, are well differentiated. So in that sense, he has also done a great job with this book. Overall, this well cared for release does unfortunately very little in order to hide or otherwise cover up or supplement the the gaps that the original author left within this text. So my final rating for Atatürk, The Rebirth of a Nation, is a 3 out of 5. And yeah, that was my review. Thank you for your attention. If you enjoyed it, well then please like the video, maybe even share it wherever you think other people will also like the video. If there is anything you'd like to add, either to the book itself or to my review of it, that's what the comment section is for. And if you want to see when my next video gets released, well then please subscribe. And ideally also ring the bell or do whatever else YouTube will ask of you in order to keep you notified. My books, the first of my own Heir to the Empire series, The Next Generation on the Path Not Taken, are available at various book retailers under their respective master links in the description down below, right past my social media links, which I would suggest you check out should you choose to. And given I have a third book on the way, now might be as good a time as any to check it out, because or to check them out, because I might just have some updates on that. I also have a second channel where you can hear me talking about whatever crosses my mind, though it'll typically still be related to narrative analyses, but of works outside of the print medium. So if that sounds interesting to you, go ahead and check it out. If, however, you want to hear more about my thoughts on the print medium and selected works therein, well then I suggest you stay on this channel and go through my extensive backlog, covering not just book reviews, but also writing advice, as well as miscellaneous connected topics. So if that sounds interesting to you, again, go ahead and check it out. If it doesn't, well then I suggest you go ahead and do whatever you want the rest of your day, because it is your day after all. And yeah, that was it for me. So until next time, I am Jonathan Taylor, and this has been The Heir's Lair.